In the haunting world of Hollow Knight, few characters capture our imagination quite like Hornet, the agile warrior with her iconic needle and thread leaping through the ruins of a fallen kingdom. Today we're diving deep into the complete story of Hornet, from her tragic origins as the daughter of two rulers, to her role as the fierce protector of Hallownest, and finally, to her upcoming starting role in Hollow Knight Silksong. So grab your needles and silk, because we're about to unravel one of the most compelling character arcs in indie gaming. Hornet's story begins not with love, but with sacrifice. She is the product of a solemn bargain between two of Hallownest's most powerful rulers, the Pale King of Hallownest and Herrah the Beast, the Spider Queen of Deepnest. When a terrible infection threatened to consume everything, the Pale King needed three dreamers, eternal sleepers who would seal away this dreadful plague. Herrah agreed to become one of these dreamers, but she had one condition. The Pale King must grant her a child. Thus, Hornet was born as what the game calls a pale gift to Deepnest, a fair trade for the sacrifice Herrah would make. But here's what makes Hornet special. Unlike the Pale King's countless other offspring, those anonymous, genderless vessels created specifically to contain the infection, Hornet was different. She was a normal child of flesh and blood, with her own will and mind. This earned her the title Gendered Child, whispered by those who knew of her unique parentage. Even the White Lady, the Pale King's queen, acknowledged that Hornet was a striking reflection of her mother, though tragically, the two were permitted little time together. After fulfilling her bargain, Herrah went into her eternal slumber, leaving young Hornet with only fleeting memories of her mother's presence. Raised in the dark tunnels of Deepnest, among spiders and weavers, Hornet inherited legacies from both sides of her lineage. From her mother came fierce strength, from her father a solemn sense of purpose. She learned to wield her lethal needle with precision and grace, likely trained by the ancient weaver tribe whose silk thread she now commands with deadly efficiency. As the kingdom of Hallownest descended into ruin and the infection resurfaced despite the seals, Hornet found herself in a unique position. Where others in Deepnest succumbed to the spreading plague, she alone survived this fall, becoming a lone sentinel in the broken kingdom. Hornet took it upon herself to guard what remained of Hallownest. She prowled the ruins, warding off trespassers who might disturb the fragile seals or unleash further doom upon her shattered home. But she focused her vigilance on two sacred sites in particular. First was the Temple of the Black Egg at Hallownest's core, where the Hollow Knight was imprisoned to contain the infection. This seal Hornet was absolutely determined to protect. The second was the cast-off shell in Kingdom's Edge, the molted carcass of her father, the Pale King. Hidden there lay the King's brand, the key to accessing the Abyss, Hallownest's darkest depths. Hornet stationed herself as its guardian, ensuring that only a truly worthy soul could claim this powerful artifact. Her dedication was absolute. She even encountered a traveler named Quirrell, initially attempting to bar his way until she recognized the mask of Monomum the Teacher, another dreamer, in his possession. This was a sign that Quirrell was on a righteous mission, so she allowed him to pass, always aware of the greater stakes at play. But when she sensed the infection resurging and the ancient Radiance stirring once more, Hornet's vigilance intensified. And then, a small silent knight ventured into Hallownest. Hornet immediately took notice of this newcomer. Like Quirrell, this knight seemed drawn by the awakening crisis. But Hornet was weary. She understood exactly what the knight truly was. One of her father's forsaken vessel progeny, and she knew what they might intend to do. Her first encounter with the knight took place in the verdant outskirts of Greenpath. She watched the little wanderer from afar, darting out of sight whenever they approached. Finally, at the edge of the Lake of Un, among mossy stones and the corpse of a failed vessel, Hornet confronted the knight directly. "Come no closer, ghost," she warned, recognizing the knight as a silent shade of her father's creation. Sensing the infection stirring, she declared that she knew what they were and what they tried to do, and that she could not allow it. What followed was a swift, brutal duel among the vines and bubbling pools. Hornet moved with deadly speed, her needle flashing as she tested the intruder's mettle. But the knight proved stronger than she anticipated, defeating her in battle. Wounded but still proud, Hornet retreated without despair, disappearing into the wilds after this initial test. Despite her defeat, Hornet remained a vigilant presence throughout the knight's journey. She appeared again in the City of Tears, Hallownest's flooded capital, by the Grand Fountain and the statue of the Hollow Knight, but this time her approach was different. By now, Hornet had discerned the truth of the Knight's origin and their quest. She understood that the small warrior might actually be Hallownest's last hope to end the infection for good. Speaking cryptically, she urged the Knight to learn about Hallownest's sacrifice, the grim truth behind the royal machinations that led to the kingdom's ruin. If, after learning the truth, the Knight still chose to press on, Hornet invited them to seek her out at the cast-off shell in Kingdom's Edge. Only with both knowledge and resolve would the Knight be worthy of the task ahead. True to her word, Hornet awaited the Knight at the kingdom's far border, in the ashen snow of Kingdom's Edge. Atop the cast-off shell, she assumed her fighting stance once more, this time as the Hornet Sentinel, determined to push the Knight to their absolute limit. This duel was different. A deliberate test to ensure the Knight's resolve and strength were unshakable before she entrusted Hallownest's future to them. The clash was intense, with Hornet's needle dancing through the air in a blur of silk, but eventually, the Knight prevailed once again. Exhausted but impressed, Hornet yielded. By ancient right, the Knight had now earned the King's brand, the mark that granted access to the Abyss itself. As the brand burned upon the Knight's shell, the cast-off shell began to crumble. In a rare display of concern, Hornet sprang into action, pulling the Knight to safety from the avalanche of bone and ash. This gesture spoke volumes. Hornet had chosen to believe in the Knight. But belief came at a terrible personal cost. The Knight's mission required breaking all 3 Dreamer seals on the Black Egg, and one of those seals was Herrah the Beast, Hornet's own mother. When the Knight ventured into Deepnest and defeated the sleeping Herrah to free her from her dream, Hornet arrived in time to witness the aftermath. She stood vigil at her mother's bedside as Herrah's life ebbed away. For a moment, the ever-stoic Hornet allowed herself to mourn. In soft, regretful words, she acknowledged that to honor her mother's bargain and save Hallownest, she had consented to this outcome, her mother's death for the greater good. It was a heartbreaking scene. The princess protector bowing her head beside the deceased queen of Deepnest, a daughter quietly grieving the price of the fair bargain that had brought about her own existence. Yet Hornet's resolve never wavered. She knew Herrah's sacrifice was not in vain. After the Knight returned from the Abyss bearing the Void Heart, accepting their nature as a fusion of void and soul, Hornet appeared one final time at the Temple of the Black Egg. The seals were broken, the door laid open. Hornet now fully understood the Knight's exceptional nature. Impressed by their deeds, she acknowledged them not as an enemy, but as an ally. However, she couldn't join the Knight in the battle inside the egg. The temple was built to contain vessels, and if she, a being of normal biology, were to enter, the life would be drained from her. Instead, Hornet promised to stay outside and assist when the opportunity arose, a solemn pledge of trust in the Knight's ability and willingness to help at great risk to herself. During the climactic battle against the Hollow Knight, Hornet made good on that promise. As the Knight battled their infected sibling and the blazing Radiance began to surge from the Hollow Knight's shell, Hornet struck with precision. Her needle pierced into the Hollow Knight's shell, cracking it open and restraining them, creating the opportunity the Knight needed. Seizing that moment, the Knight used the Dream Nail to enter the Hollow Knight's mind and confront the Radiance at its source. Thanks in part to Hornet's decisive intervention, the eternal light of the Radiance was finally cut down, and the plague of infection ended. Hallownest's long, grim stagnation was broken at last. In the aftermath, Hornet awoke outside the ruined Black Egg, alive and free from the infection's influence. The Knight's fate remained uncertain, but Hornet has survived and fulfilled both her mother's and father's legacies. The Princess Protector's vigil was over, for now. But Hornet's story was far from over. After Hallownest's fall, while traveling beyond the ruined kingdom, Hornet faces a sudden perilous turn. She's ambushed and captured by a mysterious group of outsider bugs, bound in silk and chain and taken far away to the unfamiliar realm of Farloom, a kingdom haunted by Silksong. Her captors intend to deliver Hallownest's princess to Farloom's towering citadel atop the world. But Hornet is now one to remain anyone's prisoner. Before the caravan reaches its destination, she manages to break free from her ornate cage, finding herself alone at the base of this vast new kingdom, gazing up at the glittering peak that spears the clouds. Though displaced, Hornet's resolve only hardens. She understands she's become entwined in yet another grand saga, one perhaps tied to her own past and nature. For Hornet, this odyssey represents more than just escape. It's a test of her identity and purpose beyond Hallownest's borders. No longer merely the protector of a fallen kingdom, she must become a hero in her own right. The skills, courage, and compassion she developed in Hallownest now face new mysteries and adversaries. Yet Hornet has always been nothing if not resilient. With needle in hand and silk at her command, the Princess Protector ventures forward, determined to restore balance to a kingdom not her own, and perhaps discover her own place in the world. From a child born of political necessity to savior of Hallownest, and now to the protagonist of her own epic journey, Hornet's story is one of growth, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. She represents the bridge between the old world of Hallownest and whatever comes next. Her tale, once rooted in sacrifice and duty, now continues in the mysterious kingdom of Farloom, one woven of peril, valor, and the silken thread that connects her to both Hallownest's legacy and new adventures.